This is the JWN podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Nienstead. This is a solo show, episode 57. Trying to get my energy up. I'm trying to be positive here. I'm trying to be, entertaining. I'm stretching here. I think this is like the third week in a row where I have planned to have a normal solo show, and I don't even know what normal looks like anymore. I just don't. I mean, sure, I created this show. I can make the rules. I can break the rules as I want, but I do want to have some sort of consistency. You know, I want people to understand when they turn on the late in the week show. Usually comes out on Friday, right? I want people to think like, oh, we're going to hear about some fun stuff going on in Joe's life, or creative things that are inspiring me, or things that I've saw or seen or whatever. And unfortunately, things keep happening. Yesterday was such a dynamic day. And when I say dynamic, I mean Tuesday night, I got roped in. I'm sorry. I'm going to warn you now. This is going to be heavily political because I can't really think of anything else this week. I have all of these notes. I actually spent time going, I'm not going to screw this up this week. I got all of these news stories I want to talk about, all of this stuff that I've been sitting on for the last few weeks that I could just, I could go on and on about, and it'll be fun. It'll be entertaining. I can't even speak right now. And it'll be a break from all this BS, right? It'd be a nice break to not have to hear about, like, actual life. Or I should say, well, art is actual life. I'm not going to discount it that way. But you know what I'm saying about, like, just the crap that's happening all around us all the time. And there's some people out there that are so lucky because they can tune this all out. Me, I'm not one of those people. And so Tuesday night, I kind of got roped into watching the election results come in. And I'm going to tell you, there's a similarity. I know I've compared this before, but I'm aware of how I feel and how I treat this. And I've seen this side of myself, so I get it. But there's a sportsmanship-like quality to watching politics. You know, you have your team, you see the strategies, you see how it plays out. And on election night for a big election, it's exciting if you're into that kind of stuff. If you're not into it, it's really, really mind-numbingly boring. To watch a person standing in front of like a touch screen and just explain to you the numbers and where they're coming from and what they mean and what kind of voters or how did they vote and the likelihood of the votes that are left coming from this place that are mail-in votes versus, okay. It's all very nutty. It's probably like someone who doesn't watch football trying to understand what the heck the announcers are talking about watching football. It's very similar. Except this is kind of like, in sports, if your team loses, oh, well, you got another game to play or another season to win, whatever it is. You hope that your favorite players or any players don't get hurt. Even players on the other team, no one wants to see players get hurt. And that's about it. Your team lives to fight another day. In politics, it can be very serious. It does affect you. People who claim that politics don't affect their daily life. How you doing in 2020? Has politics affected your life? As we crossed over yesterday, 360,000 dead Americans. That's something that when you look at New Zealand and they're just living life like there's no pandemic because they have 0 active cases because they had a government that stepped up and did the right thing early on. Yeah. How's that government treating you? How's that government not affecting your life? It does. Sorry. If you don't pay attention and you don't care, you know what? I have a great interview on Monday coming up. Check that out. You can skip this episode. I don't mind. But it does affect you. The outcome of these elections affects you. Depending on where your political leanings are, it's exciting. But at the end of the day, we're in a dangerous, dangerous situation right now. People have seen this coming. When Trump was elected, the reason why people cried out, the reason why people panicked, the reason why people literally cried for days, went into depression spirals that have lasted years, the reason why women everywhere in this country, across the globe even, marched after he was elected in some of the largest protests collectively in the history of like the world, or at least America, I guess. We knew this was going to happen. It's not a surprise. Last week on this podcast, I mentioned, hey, if you're in DC, don't go out of your house on Wednesday. I mentioned it because he told us he was going to start a riot. He said it. He said it in his Trumpian mafioso wannabe gangster way. But if you don't speak his language and you're going to take him on his word and not on his intent, then maybe you could say, I didn't see that coming. But then you're also a fucking moron. You're just stupid if you can't understand when he says, hey, come to the Capitol, we're going to go wild. If you didn't know what that meant, you're really just, wow. You have no street smarts at all. Put it that way. Maybe that's a nicer way to put it. I don't want to insult people right now because I'm so full of anger. I'm so full of hate. There's so much hatred in me right now, and I can't stand it. Like, I'm trying to expel this anger and this pain and this hatred, this feeling of just disgust. Disgust at so many different things that deserve people to be disgusted. Like Lindsey Graham, Captain, hey, if we, before Trump was elected, if we nominate this guy and he wins the election, we're going to destroy the Republican Party and we'll deserve it. That was Lindsey Graham. Trump gets elected, and up until this past Christmas, goes golfing with him, full on supporting his conspiracy theories, full on saying this election was rigged. We should let the president fight this, blah, 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 blah. Until he gets escorted out of the fucking Capitol in a gas mask through the elevators and chambers underneath the building to get escorted out of the building. And all of a sudden he's like, it's over now. I think Trump's gone too far. No, asshole. You've gone too far. Freaking spineless prick. That's what the kind of anger I have, but I feel like it's deserved. But I don't want to harbor it towards people. I just don't, because who's it going to help? Me saying all that stuff and coming, and being honest with y'all, who does it help? He doesn't care. He's a wet noodle. He conforms to whatever he thinks is gonna benefit him in that moment. He's a spineless piece of waste. But me saying that just now again, it doesn't help me. Does it feel good to get it off your chest? I guess. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It feels good. But then what does it do to somebody who maybe likes him? It makes them think, well, this guy doesn't like him, and then all it does not, at the end of the day, harboring this kind of feeling and expressing it publicly like I am doing now, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It feels good right now. Trust me, I feel great calling him names. There's a lot of names I'd like to call him. I'm just addressing what's on my mind right now. Does it feel good in the moment? Yes. Does it serve me in the long run? No, it hurts me. Putting out bad vibes about people and talking shit about them it never results in like a positive thing for anybody. Calling them out and saying, "Hey man, that's not cool." That's one thing, but then like calling them names, yeah, that you stop the conversation, you just go right to name calling and anger and hatred, and what does it solve? But I have to be honest with you. Days like yesterday, I'm so tired of taking the higher road or whatever, of going high when they go low, of trying to do the right thing, constantly trying to say the right things and trying to be the better person, or at least, and not for the sake of being better than them. I'm saying be the better person, being the best version of yourself, right? It's exhausting. It's so exhausting. It's so hard to keep it up. After a while, you just want to let go a few F-bombs and tell people that they're fucking assholes and they're morons and that they're on the wrong side of history, and you're going to be like one of these freaking Nazis that escaped to South America. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I feel like half the damn Republican Party. And I don't want to play these games. I don't want to be like, in my mind, this has all been a kind of plot to divide and conquer the United States, and it's working. It's working. But the problem is, I don't know anymore if it's an outside influence job to try to get us to fight with each other and tear ourselves apart from the inside. I don't know. And it doesn't matter at this point, because until we all decide to put aside our differences and start working together again, we're never going to get anywhere. But after yesterday, you have to say to yourself, if there's no consequences for everybody involved, starting with the president, if there's nothing serious happens to all those people that broke in, nothing serious happens to those police that let them in, if nothing serious happens to the 6 senators and the 100 and whatever congressmen who still, after all that, came back into session that night and still tried to overthrow the election for a dictator wannabe, if nothing happens to those people, what the fuck is the point of all this? What's the point? Because, he didn't learn the first time he got impeached, like Susan Collins said, "Oh, I think he learned his lesson. He won't do it again." Why isn't she paying the price for this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is on her. This is on all of those leaders that have gone away, that have embraced these conspiracy theories based on nothing. Based on nothing. We're letting flat earthers take over our damn Capitol building. It's unbelievable. And again, I don't want to feel this way. I hate the level of hate that it's. I feel like I'm losing this battle, but I'm getting it off my chest with you people. I'm letting you know. I think it's important that you get it off your chest. It's a little. It's stupid of me to say things out in public like this, but I want you to know how I feel. I really want you to know how I feel. Does that mean I hate everybody who thinks differently than me? Of course not. Let's not be silly. But something has to happen. And as I'm recording this, I'm waiting. I have this faith in my heart that that the people in government, the people in power, are going to remove Donald Trump forcibly, like through the 25th Amendment or impeachment. Hopefully through the 25th Amendment. Hopefully, I played that clip at the beginning of this show at the onset for a reason, because if you've paid attention at all, I'm sure you saw the pictures, the frightening pictures of a noose set up outside of the Capitol building. You've seen the people with zip tie handcuffs. you you heard them chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Okay, they were coming to the Capitol to pull. I mean, they named him. Mike Pence is one of them. They named Mike Pence. They were going to pull him out of his chambers and hang him in front of that was their plan. I mean, there's evidence to show it, and they said it. They didn't say it like, let's go Mets, hoping that, no, there was a noose. There was restraining devices. They broke in forcibly. They were in there for like 4 hours. The amount of things they've done that we don't know about, or there's just so much stuff that, because hundreds of people vandalizing this building. I believe we're now up to 5 people dead. But if I'm Mike Pence, reportedly people around him said they've never seen him as angry as he was yesterday. If I'm Mike Pence and I see the picture of that noose and I see the picture of those people and I hear that tape and I realize that they were coming for me, yeah, I'm going to turn around and be like, get this fucking guy out of here. He just sent a mob to kill me because I won't make up some law that doesn't exist to overthrow the government. I mean, Mike Pence had no power to overthrow the election. There's nothing he could have done at all. There's nothing. There's not a single thing he could have done. But somehow Trump was mad at him because he couldn't do it, because he didn't have the power that Trump decided he should have. So I do have faith that if Mike Pence truly is a man of God, if Mike Pence truly is a man of character, that he will do the right thing, and that is remove the person who just tried to take over our government violently. And if he doesn't do it, at least the Democrats will try another impeachment. Personally, I think there's a lot of people who are going to be tried and found guilty of sedition. And I mean, I hate to be like out for blood, but if we don't make an example of these people, if we don't, what's next? Where's the line? And that brings me to another thing. And I'm sure by now, I think most people who are paying attention have come to this conclusion or have heard somebody else talk about this. Number one, if they were protesting for Black Lives Matter and tried to pull even half of what these people have done yesterday. We've seen the images of the last Black Lives Matter protest in DC. We saw the National Guard standing on the steps of the same building, protecting it. None of that existed on Wednesday. None of that existed. We know that if it was a Black Lives Matter protest, there would be the utmost violence against them, the protesters. But they weren't black. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say they weren't black, because there were black people in there. So that's unfair to even say. They weren't Black Lives Matter protesters. They weren't fighting for literally their lives. These are people who have been conned. And they were treated with kid gloves. Yet they almost took over the government. Almost. I mean, they were pretty damn close. From what I've heard from reports of people inside the building, they had to keep rerouting because mobs of people were coming down the halls that they were trying to escape through. So comparing these two groups, comparing this mob, this angry Trump supporter mob, to a Black Lives Matter protest is so disgusting to me, even though I just did it. But trying to make that comparison is acting like they're two things of the same gravity. Black Lives Matter are people protesting systematic racism that has targeted black men in this country for a long time, disproportionately killing black men, murdering black men, using the police force. It's basically saying, hey, we need to make some systematic changes to change this system. Right? And the data's there. They're not full of shit. They're not lying. There's videotape of so much stuff now. If you don't believe that there's a problem, you're an asshole. If you don't believe that there's a problem, and if you think it's their fault and they should know better and they should get better, no. Okay. Anyway, that's not what this is about. But to compare people, to compare a whole race of people who were brought to this country as property, as slaves, then were freed, but were held down and suppressed, to compare those people and their plight to just survive to a bunch of people who got conned by a reality TV star to think that there was magical fraud that didn't exist, from a guy who said, if I lose, it will be fraudulent. If I win, it will be great. I really, I'm trying to not say what I want to say, because it's, again, it's not going to help. It's not going to help. But I don't like comparing those two groups. But again, if it were a Black Lives Matter protest, as we've seen in the past, they would have been met with the full force of police, the National Guard. Everything would have been there waiting for them. These are people that were planned violently to attack the Capitol. They planned it. It was organized. I knew it. I said it last week. Again, I said it last week on this friggin' podcast. I said it. If you can go back and download it and listen to it. It's not like this was a surprise. They told us they were going to violently protest. They told us they were going to attack. And they did. And there was no police. There was barely anyone there. And half of them just laid down and let them go through. It's disgraceful. I mean, the chief of the Capitol Police announced, as I'm recording, right before I record this, that he's resigning. Whoop-de-fucking-do. But again, these are not comparable groups. Black Lives Matter protesters are fighting for their lives. Trump supporters are fighting because they're morons and they're racists. By the way, their idea of fraud, in case you're wondering, they'll tell you all these things that have been disproven. And the only cases of voter fraud that have been found throughout the country have 100% been Republicans committing voter fraud, trying to vote twice for Donald Trump. And those are documented. You can find them. All these other ones that they made up, they're all made up. There's no evidence. There's nothing. 60 plus lawsuits thrown out. The Supreme Court rejects even hearing the stupid cases because it's bullshit. It's made up. But these people have been conned. They've been conned, and I'm supposed to sit here and act like they're on equal footing with Black Lives Matter protesters? People who actually do systematically get murdered because of the color of their skin? Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was how do we how do we move on from this? As you know, venting and getting this all off my chest and just yelling into a microphone. Like I said earlier, it doesn't help in the long run. It might only hurt me. It's putting more negativity out in the world. So how do we do this? How do we fight this fight? How do we right the wrongs without spreading more hate? I'm trying. I'm failing right now, but I am trying. I'm trying to come up with a way to make it all better. To make it all better. I mean, yesterday, I'm recording this Thursday night. So Wednesday morning, I woke up excited at the results of the Georgia election. Excited for a lot of reasons, but I was so excited to see what Stacey Abrams was able to accomplish in Georgia. This lady took 10 years of her life enacting a plan to organize, to basically overcome voter suppression, to educate Black potential voters how to register to vote and how to vote. And it worked. It worked it didn't work for her in 2018, but she was able to identify the voter suppression that was used to defeat her. And it was by a narrow amount. And by changing those voter suppression attempts, guess what? By a narrow margin, Biden won Georgia. And by a much larger margin, these two senators were elected just on Tuesday of this week. And yeah, that's an amazing feat. That is a healthy way to change democracy, your democracy. To change it, you have to do a lot of work, hard work. It's a long, slow process. It involves getting out there and reaching people and having a message that is so positive and so inspiring that people are willing to get out of their house and vote, or send in a mail ballot because it's 2020. But let's be honest, those people all would have showed up to vote regardless if that was their only option. And going forward, by the way, is there ever a reason not to do mail-in voting? It works perfectly. It works perfectly. It's so much safer. It's a lot less hassle. And here's the rub. More people will vote if they don't have to be intimidated going to a poll. And that's why the Republicans don't want you to mail in your vote, because they want to intimidate you. They want to suppress you. I'm not saying that like, facetiously. I'm saying that like it's documented. It's proven. That's what they do. You never hear of a Democrat gerrymandering a district in their favor. It never happens. It's only been Republicans trying to figure out how they can draw squiggly lines to make sure that they can keep power. It's an odd thing. But what if the Republican Party just decided, you know what? We're going to change what we're standing for. We're going to appeal to people and appeal to their better side instead of the lies that they've been selling. Trickle-down economics has been sold on the Republican side since the Reagan years, and it's been a lie the whole time. It's never worked. There's no document of it ever actually working, but they still pretend that it does. They still spread the lie that Democrats are socialists and communists. It's never happened. We're not. And these are the same people that will, take advantage of social services. The guy whose picture was at, he took his picture inside of Nancy Pelosi's office, stole a letter, committed major felonies right there. And yeah, he was identified quickly, and people found out that that guy took an over $9,000 in PPP loans. That's your socialism right there. These people are all full of shit. I shouldn't say all. That guy is full of shit. But I feel like I'm going off. I'm rambling. I'm on a tangent. The positive change that someone like Stacey Abrams did is so inspiring to me. Like, if I could harness 1/10 of her ability to organize people and inspire people, I would be beside myself. And that's how you get it done, folks. What we saw yesterday was simply a cowardly act. It's the right now generation style of I don't want to work 10 years hard to make change in a meaningful way. I want change now. I blow shit up. That was what happened on Wednesday. It was just babies not getting their way. Their team lost, and they're trying to flip some cars. And they need to be. It's just not how you do it, man. It's not how you do it. I will advocate for violence as a last resort, right? I won't even advocate for it, but I will understand it. How about that's a better word? It's a last resort. If you've been for 50 years trying to get people to stop messing with you, finally, you're going to have to turn around and just punch them, right? There's a big difference between that and losing a democratic election with no actual widespread voter fraud. None of it exists. But to just pretend it does for what seemed like for a long time a grift. And that it really was. But I think that the mental issues with Donald Trump is he tells lies so much that he starts to believe his own lies. He forgot that he was lying. And then he started to believe that he actually won the election and incited, what happened. I don't know. I'm going to try to understand that in my heart, I don't want to feel this way towards other people. I want to love other people. I want to respect other people. And I'm going to look at people like Stacey Abrams for that inspiration. In the face of just the worst that, humanity has to offer, she has succeeded in inspiring people and making positive change. And she didn't do it by name calling, I'm sure. Sure, that wasn't her game. So now that I've got that all off my chest, I hope you have a much better rest of the week. I hope that the rest of this year gets better. I hope that this wasn't just the tip of an iceberg. I hope that was just, the kind of, I don't know, like reverb from the terror of last year. Like it's a little slapback echo of last year, all consolidated into one day. You had the results of that election. You had that crazy afternoon of violence. You had the deadliest day of this pandemic in the country so far. And and then you had the Senate coming back and actually confirming Joe Biden, and the Congress coming back and confirming Joe Biden. What a dynamic day. What a crazy, crazy, crazy day to live through. What a historic thing. And I hope for those of you who do pay attention to that stuff, if you're still listening, I hope you are able to sit back and reflect on all of the things that have happened and find some peace and find a way to handle yourself with your chin held up high and keep taking the high road. Because it's hard. It's exhausting. It's so hard and exhausting. But I think we owe it to ourselves. Everything I said in this past Monday's podcast, I firmly believe if you want to change the world, you got to make sure that you got your own house in order. And by your own house, I mean you. You need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Change yourself for the better. The ripples will be felt, and you will improve the world. And then you'll be able to inspire other people, hopefully, and make the world a better place. And not through violence, not through hateful words, not through name calling. And if you need to call some names, if you need to punch a pillow, if you need to just scream at the top of your lungs, every once in a while, I think you need to let it out. Just be mindful of who's in earshot and what you're saying to who, because, yeah, you don't want to end up hurting yourself in the process. All right, people. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Hopefully, I'm not even going to promise that we're going to get back to normal next week. I'm not going to promise it. Next week will be a mystery. It'll be a gift. And whatever happens next week, I'll be here and I love y'all. Peace.